Good morning, guys. This episode is going to be called COVID and its Discontents. It's a play on Freud's one of Freud's works, Civilization and its Discontents. Yeah, COVID. I want to make a distinction between COVID and political COVID, which has been one of the main conflicts or political conflicts in our society. And the way I look at it, whether we want to entertain it's real or not real, I think to really pay attention to what's going on here is that fundamentally what it reveals about the human behavior is our fundamental helplessness. Because if there's a virus out there that we have to wear masks to prevent either ourselves or other people from getting sick, it does reveal our fundamental helplessness. But then there are those that feel that COVID isn't dangerous, but there is another way that they feel helpless, is that they're being forced to comply. Either situation, whether we take pro-mask or no mask, whether we're for vaccination or anti-vaccination, whatever the case may be, each reveal our fundamental helplessness. Because ultimately it's the anger and the frustration of having to fight this helplessness. And the way we fundamentally fight our own helplessness is through compensations, or maybe better to explain it as defense mechanisms for our own survival. And a very common example that is historical when COVID came out was the abundant buying of toilet paper, where there was like a toilet paper crisis at one point, basically, and people were complaining and people were upset over what they deemed as an irrational buying of toilet paper that left other people without it or not enough. But you see, the people that were abundantly buying toilet paper, this was their defense mechanism of, well, at least I deem it as a defense mechanism of their own helplessness. What can you control in a helpless... What are the things that you can control in a helpless situation? Well, the things that you can control is buying toilet paper. It just so happens to be that toilet paper was the object of desire. The thing that people felt, for some reason, to be of what they deem that gave them control, that gave them the feeling of control in a helpless environment. Now, unfortunately, for those that had that defense mechanism, the others that were upset were helpless because they couldn't find an object of control, essentially, an object to help them feel like they are in control. And I guess the better way to phrase it, they did not have an object of desire to help them feel that they were in control. And that is what fundamentally upsets people. Now, rationally, in the political realm, what is said is that, well, there's just people that are being idiots buying toilet paper, right? Irrationally, just abundant amounts. But the thing is, when we actually look at the behavior of people and how they respond, is that both, whether you are the person abundantly buying toilet paper or not, or you're angry at the person buying abundant toilet paper, whatever the case may be, they're both responses to their utter helplessness. The only difference is that one was able to obtain an object of desire to falsely appease their helplessness. And you could say, and the anger that the other feels against this defense mechanism of the other is their own helplessness, because they could not yet find an object of desire to appease their helplessness. So fundamentally, it's to blame and to be angry. Right? Blaming other people is also another guise of our own helplessness. I think you even see this with Jeff Bezos, right? People are upset over the things that he's done, and they complain about how rich he is, right? How, at least from my understanding, from the hearsay of people, because I think it's important to what people are saying about this, whether they're wrong or they're right. What people are saying is that he's made so much money off of the abuse that he's done to his own workers, and that he decides to go to space and helping, instead of helping, people that need help, right? He decides to go to space instead of helping people that could need aid from all the money that he makes. But you see, whether people are correct in this assumption or wrong, I'm never really concerned about whether people are right or wrong. But what it does clearly show is our fundamental helplessness. Because what it shows is that apparently we need Jeff Bezos. We are so helpless that we need Jeff Bezos to be a good human being in order to thrive. At least that's the impression I get when people talk about this. That we need him to be a good human being because he makes so much money that he needs to give his workers the correct rights. And also, because he has so much money, he should be able to feed the poor and help those that are more in need. Again, this, in my opinion, this couldn't be a more clear case about our fundamental helplessness. Now, there is something in one of Adam Phillips' lectures on YouTube about Freud's helplessness, where he says that helplessness is the motive for all morality. And I think that makes sense, honestly. Because if someone wasn't in need, or helpless, I wouldn't be able to do something good or something evil. And it's just interesting because, I mean, when we think about maybe stealing, right? A thief's own desire to have something, to need something, whether he wants it or he feels that he needs it. I would like to think that most thieves, if they had the money, they would buy the thing. But because they don't have the money, and they don't have the resources, stealing just seems more of an adequate response. So for them, it might just be a helpless situation in that case. Again, this is just speculation, of course. I'm not really sure how a thief mind works, but we can all assume at one point in our lives we thought about stealing something. We've thought about just taking something. And it's easy to fool ourselves with a rational justification. You know, I've had these thoughts before. I think as when I was a child, when I was an adolescent. I remember I'd be like, you know, I could steal it. I just don't feel like paying for it. I also don't feel like paying the money for it. But I want it. And so either am I helpless against my desire, or I'm helpless against the economic situation that is against me. Whatever the case may be, again, at the most fundamental level, we are helpless against our own objects of desire. And politics, it would seem, especially when we talk about COVID, always seems to be the case. We have the people that want others to conform and obey to wearing a mask and be civil. Then the other side is, well, they say that they're being denied their human rights, that there is some kind of discrimination going on, whether you're vaccinated or not. And so there's a helplessness in that feeling. But then there's the helplessness on the other side that feels that if we don't get enough people to conform, then more people will die. And so the way I'm looking at it is there seems to be a debate between two objects of desire. On one hand, there's the object of desire to, you could say, to live, to prevent other people from dying. But then the other object of desire is my own independency, my freedom. And it's a little bit ironic that they're both the shadows of each other. Because how many times is it worth dying for freedom? But again, this talk is not really supposed to be too much of anything. I think always the moral language is confining and narrowing to the human mind. That is always my concern with morality, because it's always a sort of intimidation. And it prevents us from seeing possibly something that we haven't been paying attention to. And that's always what I'm interested in. What is it that we haven't been paying attention to? And helplessness would seem that it is the primal motive for everything that is going on. I think COVID really shows exactly how truly helpless we really are. That we need each other so desperately to either abide to wearing masks or not. I either need you to wear a mask, or I need you so I cannot wear a mask anymore. Whatever the case may be, it still signifies our utter neediness. But, alright, I think that's enough for today. I'll see you guys later.